yours.
All right, let's have a look at part 2. So this, unfortunately, we didn't have the video from the production of Cats, which is one of the lives of independent theatre issues, called Not Enough Resources. But lovely videographer, man, if you ever like making things for free. Anyway, let's show some footage. What we're looking at now is the footage from the school's production of it. So I may get us to stop just a couple of intervals as we go through it. We'll show the first couple of sections. There's 4 short sections here.
The screams and moans of captured women echo.
Screams and moans of captured women echo.
The screams and moans of captured women echo.
The screams and moans of captured women echoes. Various Greek laws draw lots for them, and they become their slaves. But to see the true face of misery, you need not look further than Hecuba.
For the last time I harrowed my heart with
But that's all right. We'll see if we can experiment with the tech for a moment.
Before greater sorrow overwhelms me and my slavery.
What we were hearing, we can go with what we were hearing. And we'll talk about
Screams and moans and moans.
what's
Captured women echoes.
Screams and moans of captured women echo.
Screams and moans and captured women echo.
The screams and moans of captured women echoes. Various Greek laws draw lots for them, and they become slaves. But to see the true face of misery, you need not look further than Hecuba.
For the last time I harrowed my heart with the sight of my dead sons. The last time before greater sorrow overwhelms me and my slavery begins. Perhaps falls into the bed of some loathsome Greek. But look, a star officer of the Greek army has some news for us. I can see him hurrying at a brisk march in our direction. What will he tell us? More worth saying. The Dorian Greeks have reduced us to slavery.
Can we pause it there, just after
We're
the
not unaware that on many occasions as officer in charge of negotiations or outlining our proposals, I have come here from the Greek camp, so I am no stranger.
Beautiful, perfect. Okay, so what we're looking at straight away is a sense of a much more ensemble-based piece, where the chorus really was my primary focus. In the first image, what you had was Poseidon and Athena and 2 chorus members behind them. But you will have already noticed that there's an interbleeding between the lines of whose lines are whose. So the line, the screams and moans of captured women echo, I think is originally Poseidon's, but you can tell how far I am into the landscape of having forgotten which character's which. I can't even tell you whose line it was originally. What I know is that I wanted it to reverberate through the whole cast. The other thing that you saw was highly, highly obvious sort of tokenistic symbolism in terms of any attempt to try and create a realistic Hecuba in the first instance. I was playing with the idea of the symbolism of the Greek mask being never something that's obviously alive. It's clearly a metaphor which shows a certain dramatic type. Hecuba, pile of cloth, boom, throw it on the ground, good, somebody puts it on, now they're a Hecuba. All we need to know as the audience is very simple signifiers. In the second little section, what we were looking at, oh yeah, okay, even gender really didn't matter to me. I mean, Chris is a fairly male-body-ish kind of person. You can tell by the beady thing sticking off his chin. Not that actually in a non-binary world we should even assume that. But jokes aside, Chris does male identify, and most of us would assume that he might be male identifying. I had no difficulty with him playing a woman in the chorus, because in my world, the concept of resolving violence against women is not just about hearing women's voices. Men have to be part of that project. And it was also where it was very powerful to have Tonye, who we will see was playing Poseidon in the first instance, who's a non-binary performer, there representing a woman. So straight away, chorus in the foreground, characters in the background. Hecuba was the one more narrative structure I wanted to let my audience hang on to, so I made her as real as possible, and I used her as little as possible in the chorus. But other than that, pretty much all chorus. Men come out of chorus, I need a Talthybius, oomph, here's a Talthybius. Do I not need a Talthybius anymore? Oh, back in the box. Let's show some more of this then. Going on to the concept of
Now
song.
the others. I was singing all our favourite songs of Artemis, Zeus' daughter, Virgin of the Mountains. Suddenly, I heard a terrible howl. Unmistakable sound of murder. Scream rising through the streets of the whole city. Children grabbed hold of their mother's skirts and their pale hands plucked at her gown, fluttering in fear. The god of war had sprung his trap. The ambush strategy worked perfectly, thanks to Pallas Athena, whose power secretly inspired it. The Trojans were cut down, the home, beheaded like they, sweeping a whole generation of women wrapped in their own hundreds. Bastards! Oh, Greeks! Desolation! Oh,
And I don't think we're going to get to go to the fourth section because otherwise we're going to run over the time where we get to be asked questions and things. But the idea here being, in particular, the idea of song, how song carries catharsis through the movement of sound rather than through the intellect itself. Greek drama being something that was intended to act on the nervous system rather than purely on the mind. And in particular here, obviously, what we can see is the juxtaposition of the Trojan horse and the violence that enters the banquet feast as represented between the shift from melody towards dissonance throughout the musical piece. So, I don't know, slightly wanky ideas, but they work for me. I'm not going to show you the third little video because otherwise we'll run out of time to ask questions and we could show you stuff forever. But yes, there's at least a starting point of some of what Kat and I did.
Thank you so much. Now I'm sure people have got lots of questions, but before we start, I just want to ask some to get you underway. I want to drag you back to more technical matters rather than the content of the play itself. You said that you had to chop the text for, let's say, if not arbitrary, pragmatic reasons, just to get it down to time. That's one of several dimensions with Greek theatre that are problems for us in the modern world. I'm interested in the choices you made around the other things that are problematic. The length is problematic, that's for sure. Another thing that's massively problematic is the chorus. What is it? What do the audience think it is? What's it for? How do you make use of it? The other things are more conceptual, but they're still technical in that compared to a modern audience, the audience in Athens knew who all the characters were and knew what all their fates were. So the audience the play was written for knew there's no suspense. They know what's going to happen. That's a technical problem that a theatre maker has to deal with. And the other one I'll add, which is a big technical problem for anyone dealing with ancient world storytelling, is the gods. The Greek gods are so confounding even to scholars of ancient Greece. It's very easy to skip over them, but clearly they were very important to the playmakers and the audiences at the time. So I'd just love you to talk about how you deal with those technical challenges around Greek theatre.
Yeah, I mean, we approach it probably differently, again, I would say. For the gods, I kept them present the whole time. My musicians were the gods. And so I had the gods going in with their instruments and supporting the other characters at times, stepping back at times, creating the atmosphere, and always being there. So that's what I did. I really kept them present the whole time. What would you do?
Gods, me. I didn't, is the quick answer. Beyond throwing a cloak on Poseidon and Athena to get the first chunk of the story rolling, I didn't bother with them at all. I certainly didn't bother thinking about a visual representation like Kat did of the Aphrodite story. I did embody the sentiment that, and this is where the sort of the abstraction I did with the piece is quite powerful, but it's sometimes also a little hard to grasp in relation to a specific question like the gods. But where the gods feature in my understanding of this is, everybody always thinks that the gods are on their side in the war. Like, it's just stupid. It's just plain stupid. Because otherwise, why do you lose the next one? Or that's a beautiful representation of the fickleness of Greek gods, which is that they might well be on your side now because it suits them, because they're annoyed with their brother about when their brother stole too many potatoes from Zeus, and therefore they're going to ruin your city. But like, they're such precocious gods, and they're such unwilling to stick to concepts of good and bad, that to presume them to be the sort of the rationale behind violence or suffering almost becomes a form of foolishness that actually allows this cycle of wars to keep going.
So that would be gods. I actually also started my whole performance with Aphrodite, which I completely forgot about, who was a burlesque dancer. And
very sexy at that. I had to do the lighting to keep her in focus, and difficult job.
But you use the gods, and often a solution is to just pretend they're not there.
I dropped them as fast as I
together.
could. Yeah, ditched them as fast as I could.
The other technical thing, I'd like you to talk about what you dealt with, because if you come to any of these plays, the chorus is there. You can research what people think the chorus was for, what it did. You can also try to imagine, we know they use masks. How much do you feel bound by those conventions, and which ones can you let go?
Okay, so again, we had very different approaches. I played with it all, to tell you the truth. I had a strong chorus in regards to wanting a body and wanting the mass, because for me, that's one of the things that they represented, were all of the voices, not just the individual, and therefore the horror to the numbers. Then though, I had the chorus merging and moving into one, back all of the characters in each part, two, to show the visuals, three, at times we brought in the masks as well, and then merge into the other characters as well. So I really played with by using the chorus to really bring a huge unity to the group, but also showing the mass of the population really, and the horrificness of the numbers.
I sort of addressed this one already a little bit, but it's called Women of Troy. It's not called Hecuba of Troy. It's not called Helen of Troy. It's not called Cassandra of Troy. It's not called Andromache of Troy. So the women of Troy were the chorus, as far as I was concerned. The named characters were simply representatives of the kinds of experience that the rest of those women were going to suffer too.
Now, I've got one more question I want to ask before I open it up to the audience, and that's about the life of the production, the interactions you had with the audiences. If you could talk about how it was received, obviously you will have had some things that have pleased you, you will have had some things that surprised you in how audiences, particularly young people, reacted to the productions.
Can I go first on this one?
Please do.
I got in trouble with schools for making Greek drama about contemporary issues of domestic violence. It was far too much. We're not talking about domestic issues. Contemporary issues have got nothing to do with why we're studying the play. Really? Is that so? Okay, interesting. Have you ever thought about why we teach literature, people? The ideas that we keep. Gestalt therapy says that until we solve a problem, we continue to tell the story. I don't know if I need to say any more. We're still telling the story. It's because we didn't solve the problem. Anyway, so I was horrified that is where schools landed with this. I do understand that what I was asking of students was very intense, and I would certainly understand that it may have been too much for teachers to come at a text like this.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? You said what you were asking of the students was intense. What were you asking of them?
To engage with the fact that domestic violence is real and happening on all of our doorsteps daily, and that we all actively participate in it by remaining an audience. We watch it on the news, like a piece of mythology, and we don't change our world. And I don't want Greek drama not to hurt you, if that's what we're still doing in our day-to-day lives.
And
Okay.
that's probably...
That's pretty provocative, but...
Before you start,
Yeah.
now tell me something that was really good and that warmed you.
Mm. Well, in a way, it's exactly the same thing. I heard a young student come up and say to one of the performers after a performance, "I have never dreamed of talking to anyone about the thing that happened to me, but when I saw you perform this play like this, I knew one day I would find a way to tell my story." That's catharsis. That's transformative theatre happening then and there. We also just recently restaged this production during a mini festival in the middle of an electronic music party, because I like strange intersections of art and culture. And a goodly number of people walked away. Look, healing from issues around sexual violence is one of my great interests in art and literature. It's been one of the damaging effects in my life, is having been witness to a lot of it. And countless people walked away from this festival saying, you completely changed our understanding of what it was to watch a piece of drama this weekend. And you could see people going, this has done something crazy. This has met us in a place where we didn't expect. And if the purpose of drama is to do something that shifts us out of our existing time and place, so that through the metaphor of watching the story, when we come back to here, reality has changed, that's what it did. It changed some people, and not lots. Lots of people won't get what I do. That's okay.
Kat, can you talk about those issues as well? So reactions that shocked, surprised you, reactions that warmed you.
I was surprised that some families brought their little children, and that was really. And I was a little bit worried when I first saw that. I was like, oh dear. I was like, should I go there and warn? But we always did a warning anyway at the start. But the engagement that they had with it was amazing as well, because of what they took from it, So what surprised me was that a lot of, when families came or went to the event, or couples, and you had one person who loved Greek drama, that the other person was also pulled along because of the way that it was done, and then they were eager, to ask questions and to discuss. And that was a really lovely, lovely surprise, because just like it took me 3 reads to actually connect to the text and want to direct it, it was so lovely to be able to also reach others with that.
Something that I saw that also worked brilliantly in your version of the production was people who might not necessarily have been willing to invest in the poetry and the drama of Women of Troy watched the circus elements and watched the dance elements and absorbed by osmosis a bit of the story.
Yeah.
People who might not have been willing to understand a chorus attached to the main characters being very strong narrative arc points, and then were able to absorb some of the chorus and the philosophy of the play.
One of the things that I really enjoyed is, because the matinees we actually also did for school productions, and so after the matinee I would talk to the students and just their thoughts, and it really makes such a difference to be able to reflect with them and to be able to discuss with them what they saw. And gosh, I wish we did that after every theatre production, because it's amazing what the audience has, and you often can't read that either when you're either sitting part of it. You get the energy, but their thoughts, and I love that.
Well, we can do that tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much. And thanks again, everybody, for coming out tonight. Thanks to Tim and the Grimwade, and thanks to our marvellous interns who've done such a great job for us.